I'm ready.
Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack, and today I'm doing a video on Nosferatu. Now, Nosferatu actually is a remake. Well, it's not the first remake, but it's a remake that's almost over 100 years since the original. The original was in 1922, and I believe my mother took me to see the original because my mother would have, I want to say, unconventional events for us. So at one point, because in Manhattan, this theater near the Museum of Natural History, they were playing silent films, and I think we saw the story of Jesus Christ, the silent film, and we saw, I believe, Nosferatu, and I think possibly another time. But there's we would see that my mother was mainly interested in the organist, and my uncle came. And my uncle Abe came, who played the piano and played the organ. He came one time to listen, and he talked to the organist. So it was more so. And my mother also played the piano too. So it was something that was the big get to go there. But my mother would go there, and we'd have these snacks or hero sandwiches or something like that. And we saw the original. I don't remember much besides him open up the same with the story of Jesus Christ. Only thing I remember from that, and I was I don't know, 15 or 16. I think one of those times you can see there's a picture of me with my mother where I'm just a little bit taller than her. And then the next one is the puberty started to hit, because it wasn't a full on. I had slimmed down and I was taller than her at that point. So that's a little back history I can give you on that. The only thing back history I can give you on the original Nosferatu is done better on many other sites, but it was basically a retelling of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Obviously, it was sued, but they changed the names to actually do the story, but they were still sued, and the widow of Bram Stoker won the case and destroyed as much as she could. But at the same time, there were so many. This movie was so popular, it went across the world. It spawned remakes, stories from other angles. Interesting, Willem Dafoe played one of the stories from another angle, and he's also in this story. So characters obviously would change, the name would change to utilize this. It was that's a classic Hollywood style, but we never lost Nosferatu. Everyone's remembered him, and some of the classic bits of the vampire come from, well, obviously from Bram Stoker's Dracula, which of course I have the comic book version of it here by Mike Mignola. But I always like to have some sort of comic reference. But at the same time, I think they were saying that the idea that the sun, not the idea of, I think they're saying the sun can destroy vampires, but one of the things in the original is that they have to kill, he has to drink from a virgin, and then in the morning, if he's out, he'll die. That's kind of the hook of what the original one. This one takes all the bits of the original and just has fun with it. Lily-Rose Depp, someone who plays obviously Ellen here. In my mind, it was Helen, but it's Ellen. And Ellen Hutter, she is a face I hadn't seen before. I didn't know this was the daughter of Johnny Depp, and she's pulling out all the stops. The movie, at some point in the movie, you kind of think, are they trying to say she's Nosferatu? But she really kind of steals the show. She does a lot of stuff, and she's been drawn to this vampire since she was small. So they've added an element of melancholy sleepwalker aspect that was in the original movie, but they added this thought that she was in touch with sort of the mystical thing. That's kind of, this is the age where they're kind of saying we're not believing in this mystical stuff. And her husband Thomas Hutter, who is played by Nicholas Hoult, he is trying to fix, get his finances right so he can make an honest woman of her. And this leads him to this character who's a real estate guy getting a letter from Count Orlok, and he wants to situate Count Orlok and go into Transylvania, get Orlok, bring him back, and bring him to this abandoned building, which they're like, why would you take this abandoned building? He was one of the, well, it wasn't the flip it, but anyway, I didn't have a good joke for that, so sorry guys. But anyway, he does so. Ellen is like, no, please don't do it. Please don't do it. She's like, but they actually play a lot of effects from the original, the use of shadow, the character being able to draw, utilize the shadow as someone to connect with Ellen. Like he's been connecting with her for a while. And then he's also able to move. You see the shadow come over the city, like the Wu-Tang W, like it just kind of spreads over there. So the entire thing. So the uses of shadow, which is cool for a film, this kind of makes trying to remake this as close as they did really a smart thing to do. I commend them for being as close, but they kind of, no, actually they didn't. They didn't throw out the whole virgin aspect. There is a dream that Nicholas Hoult kind of does when he gets to the area. He gets to see the possible way they used to get rid of vampires. They don't say it. They kind of show you the virgin. They show you how to, this whole process, but this was in a dream. And that's the other thing that they key up in this, is that you're constantly in these moods that happen for real, but then is it a dream? So it's kind of playing back and forth. And the director, Robert Eggers, he doesn't let that go. He doesn't give that portion up. He plays it as a motif in the movie, so he keeps that aspect going. And I think Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's the friend who takes care of Ellen while Thomas is away, it feels like he's in everything. To be in Hunter with Craven the Hunter that didn't work out, and then being this, like pulling out all the stops as a character actor in this, as the well-to-do friend to Thomas, who kind of is taking in Ellen, but is dealing with Ellen's kind of weird dreams and mysticism and all this stuff, and then at the same time has to worry about his own family. And that leads to the aspect of what was interesting about the original, is what they say in writing, which is called killing your darlings. You watch the original Nosferatu, we know Ellen meets an untimely death, but we know the hook. I already said the hook of a virgin. They kind of throw that portion out of her being a virgin at all. Like they throw that portion out. That's the only thing I guess, really they threw out in the story from the original, and have the aspect of what was in, I guess, the original Dracula. So, and of course, the original Dracula novel is credited in this one. So, at the same time, with the aspect of, if you saw Bram Stoker's, that the fact that he has to bring some of the earth with him, right? And they played this to, unlike Dracula, when he brings the earth to him, it causes a plague. And it's very visual. And but the hook of it is they play into that portion of the original novel of, that land, him connected to that land brings him out. So that's how they're going to try to take out Nosferatu. But I can say, it's extremely creepy. At the same time, for me, there's a lot of shock in there. So if you're into the shock that happens, the new Count Orlok, Bill Skarsgård, they don't show him entirely, but what you see is pretty gruesome and pretty terrible. But at the same time, Ellen is still drawn to him, and they hint to why this happened and how she got connected. But at the same time, as I was looking at it, I was like saying, I know, this story, haven't seen the black and white years ago, knowing that there was no scare value for me at the time, when I watched it. Watching this one, obviously, that's why my mother was, I mean, the only other movie I seen with my mother that I remember was, what's that movie? Ghostbusters, because she obviously was a big fan of the original Saturday Night Live cast. So with this one, I was going through it, and it is shock. It's a good story. There is, creepiness. It's a good story, a story that's already been, probably, shown all around the world. It's based on the original Dracula, but at the same time, when you're watching it, saying, is there going to be something that's going to push it further? And they just went for the shock. So if you're not scared, you actually have this shock where you're like, oh my goodness. Now, if you remember the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula, they had a scene where the meanest friend is eating a baby, that sort of thing. So that was on the side of like, oh, the shock that they take this, they like push it like what you're supposed to kind of do, push it as much as they can. Where it wasn't, it was like, well, what's going on here? This one to say, oh, okay, good Lord. Nosferatu is just terrible. So ultimately, I'm giving this I enjoyed this movie. I liked it a lot. And I just watched the original again, an updated one on YouTube, and all the story bits are there. Everything is there. And Willem Dafoe's character, he's a character. I guess he's supposed to be like Van Helsing, and they're playing it that there's real science of what the science of the time, and he still goes for the folklore. So he has this connection with that. He has this understanding. The original movie had a book where they would tell you these stories, and they have it. The only way to stop the plague of Nosferatu is, him drinking from a virgin, and by the time a rooster crows, that sort of thing in the morning, and then that's where he disappears, right? So since you obviously know this is a story we know the Dracula story ends with the loss of the Dracula, the vampire. At the same time, this one has a very visual ending, which is different from what we've seen before. So I give it, I would say go out and see it. What else can I say about this? I think Anna Harding, she was also very good. She kind of reminded me in this. She doesn't look in the picture they have of her. She kind of reminds me of Heather Graham. So, but different. But she was very. She's kind of a character you kind of latch on to. But Ellen, Lily-Rose Depp, she has pulled out all the stops. Like she just. And obviously Nicholas Hoult, he's always good in everything he does. So all the talent in here is just pulling all the stops. And Bill Skarsgård, you wouldn't know that this is Bill Skarsgård. He looks like one of those guys. Looks like a bigger version of the guy from what's that thing? What's that movie? He plays a lot of European criminals, but he was in Minority Report. I should look that up while I'm here. But anyway, you don't need to hear any of that. But yeah, it was very interesting. And then the tension between Ellen and Thomas Hunter when he comes back from his struggle of this. They do have a little faith-based aspect to this with Nicholas Holt's character, because he's been through it, and a very more graphic way to get the blood from his victim. So anyway, that's about it. Check it out, and check out Lily-Rose Depp. This is the first I've seen of her, but I'd like to see more. And it's surprising to hear this is Johnny Depp's daughter, but she's solid. Spinner rack.